I'm Karen Watson, the host of A Different Point of View. Please continue to watch us, subscribe, contact us on Facebook, send out messages, comment, give us a likes up, give us a likes down if you don't like it. We want to continue this discussion of a different point of view, bringing back civility and kindness to topics that have been a little unkind before, because we can agree and we can disagree, but we can do it in a way that keeps us all civil.
It keeps it simple.
But let's all begin to start again on topics of politics, because they can be kind topics and they can just be a different point of view. It doesn't have to be a mean point of view. So just a different way to think things through. You can reach out to us. You can like us on Facebook. You can share the conversation. You can be a part of what's going to be exciting and kind and ways to learn from each other who have different points of view, and be a part of an ongoing discussion about politics and things that are happening in our nation, things that are happening around the world. And we need your voice as well. So subscribe, like us, let all the people in your social media network know about us as well. Share the message. You can reach out to us. You can go to us on Facebook, like us there. You can make comments to us down on the YouTube video, and let's just keep the conversation going. You can email me at karen.watson@gopbuzz.com. You can reach Taft.
Taft Thompson at Taft, TAFTDT at gmail.com.
You can reach Cassandra.
You can reach me at kbrowncorbin916 at gmail.com.
All right, and we'd like to reach you. We'd like to have you a part of the show if you have a different point of view. Thanks again.
3, 2.
Welcome to A Different Point of View. I am your host, Karen Watson, where we will be talking about everything from politics to culture to all the wonderful things that are happening in this great country, from the Republican Party, the Tea Party, the Conservatives, and yeah, we'll even talk about Democrats as well. So it's going to be fun. We're going to be talking about a different point of view, because the media will make you think that everyone thinks one way. Not so. And today, in our studio today, we have wonderful guests. We have Taft Thompson, who is a Black American who is Republican, so that in itself shocks you, but he was also once a deep Democrat, so we'll hear about that from him. And then we also have the beautiful Cassandra, and Cassandra also is going to tell her story from how she left the plantation and stopped listening to the lies of the left and became a deep Republican. So let's start talking about different points of view. So welcome, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies first. Cassandra, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became this deep red conservative out there shaking up the world.
I have recently become politically active, as you know. I now call myself a unicorn because I'm a Black female Christian Republican conservative Republican.
That's a lot.
And it's a lot. But about 20 years ago or so, I read an article in a magazine while I was waiting in a doctor's office that talked about the failure of one of the greatest liberal experiments in American history, and it was Washington, D.C. And the article spoke of how Washington, D.C. had become split between extremely rich and extremely poor, and the middle class had left, and they left because of the crazy regulations that had been put on all of the businesses by the then ruling Democrat Party. That led me to do a little bit of online research, started Googling what are the worst conditioned cities in America. And I looked at economics, school, violence, job culture, everything. And all of the major cities, and you know what they are, were all Democrat strongholds. That made me really begin to examine what the Democrat Party stood for. And when I really looked at it, I said, okay, this is really not me. And I made the switch. I also discovered Rush Limbaugh, started listening to him, listening to some other people, and just jumped ship or off the plantation, as you say, because it just didn't make any sense. And I couldn't see how those places that had been Democrat strongholds, that the Black community wasn't doing any better. But even in my own community, all of the Black politicians were driving bigger cars and I guess living in better houses because they didn't have houses in our neighborhoods.
Wow. Wow. Now, Taft, you also Black and Republican. Similar situation? I mean, how did you cross over?
Well, I have an interesting story. I lived in Washington, D.C., or the area, for 17 years, and my conversion began in Washington, D.C. Just to let you know, I attended 2 historically black colleges and universities. I
They
attended
are?
Hampton University, and then I attended graduate school at Howard University. So when I share my story, people are absolutely shocked that I'm in the Republican Party. But as I've told people, it didn't just happen. I had to be taught. I had to be instructed. I had to learn from somebody who was black and Republican in the party. So I had to learn from that individual. And the first thing that he told me about was the market system. Introducing the market system here in America, or the monetary system, understanding the monetary system, how it works. And through that instruction, over a period of a year, I began to convert from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party. Now, with that being said, I remember getting my first paychecks. And when I got my first paychecks, the amount of taxes that were coming out. And I remember one day leaving work, this is in Washington, D.C., so I'm walking to the metro station, and I think it was my second paycheck, and I said to myself, you know what, this Democratic thing may not be the best thing for me. It's not as great as it appears to be. So with the amount of money, the taxes coming out of my check, that was the door that was previously shut, began to crack open. And so began my journey from converting to the Republican Party from the Democratic Party.
Now, you are a deep Democrat because you worked for Democratic, candidates and campaigns, and
Yes.
I mean, you were a party person, right?
Yes, just to let you know, I worked for an Oakland Gay council member in D.C. His name was Councilmember Jim Graham. Great guy. As I said to people, he was a statesman for D.C., and I learned a lot under this individual. Also, I'm a former Congressional Black Caucus Fellow. I worked for Congressman Elijah Cummings and did that for a year. And lastly, I moved to Iowa back in 2007, and I worked for former governor of New Mexico, Bill Richardson, on his presidential campaign. So I was deeply entrenched in the Democratic Party, and just as the majority of blacks, your family roots are embedded in the Democratic Party. So to me, there was no other way. And as you know, within the black community, Democrats, I mean, Republicans are evil. Mm-hmm. Republicans are only for the rich. They are against the poor, things of that nature. So these are lies that I had to unlearn from being.
But aren't
in the Democratic
Republicans
Party.
racist? Don't you hear that? I mean, don't you?
Absolutely.
You hear that?
You hear that? I went to the Texas State Republican Convention
No. Was it like a Klan
for the
meeting?
first time and had a ball.
Wow.
Had a great time, met some wonderful people, did not feel at any point the whole time we were there, and we were there three or 4 days, and did not feel uncomfortable in any setting, did not feel unwelcome, did not feel any animosity, got hugged on by several people that voluntarily hugged. I didn't lean into them, they
Yeah.
leaned into me. It was very, very receptive.
Yeah, yeah.
And I learned something new about the national anthem.
Yes.
You know that verse in the national anthem, the second verse that nobody likes to sing because it talks about slavery? Mm-hmm. In the context, it is not talking about the black slaves. It's actually talking about the mercenaries and the captured people that Britain had conquered, the other conquered nations and the mercenaries who were required to fight. So it's disdain for the slave is not for us. It's for those other people who were hired to get into a war that wasn't theirs.
So knowledge of history helped you. Knowledge of just what was doing to you personally at the current time
Yes.
was also an issue with you. And so you guys say you're Republicans. Now, what about Trump? Are you a Trump Republican? Is that a difference? How do you feel about him? Because isn't he the most racist president? That's what the news would have you believe. Though he wasn't racist before he was president, but now it's like...
I love President Trump.
Yeah.
And I get into screaming matches. I've gotten into a couple of screaming matches with some friends. But I do like him.
Oh, I'm a diehard Trump supporter.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have been since the beginning.
Yeah.
And again, from the business context from which I'm coming from, I understand exactly what he's doing with the tariffs, with the trade agreements, with the building the wall, his relationships with Mexico and other countries and NATO. People have to do their parts. NATO, things of that nature. So he's not doing anything that is hypocritical for the success of America. As a matter of fact, he's doing the exact opposite. He's doing what America needs to do to position itself as being a strong leader in the world. And the world and the countries in the world look to America to be that strong leader. And that's what he's returning us to prominence for, or returning us to be prominent in doing.
I think he's shocking a lot of the world leaders. I think he's shocking everybody because the world leaders are even coming away saying he's nothing like what we thought, nothing like what we had imagined. And to see him walking with Theresa May and then meeting with Angela Merkel and that whole picture. And he says, you know, they took the picture of her on the table, but they didn't hang around to see what happened later. He said they got the animosity at the beginning because we were just coming together. They didn't see the camaraderie at the end when he talked about the NATO conference they just did. He said, so you're only getting the bad part of the story. You're getting the part of the story, whatever the story is, that makes him look bad.
Or as they're presenting it.
Or as they're presenting it. I've been talking to a few people about this whole incident with the 2,500 kids on the border. And I've been saying back to them, okay, 1 in 30 American children are homeless and living in poverty, don't know where their next meal is, 1 in 30. So that's about 300,000, maybe 3 million. It's a big number. I'm not good at math. But I look at it, it's a big, how many marches have you attended for those kids?
Right.
How many have you gotten upset about those kids? And then I've also said that people who break the law are separated from their children every day. That's pretty much a routine occurrence. Happens in every courtroom, happens Monday through Saturday and Sundays too. Had a friend who worked for CPS, and she said, we did it all the time. We find you breaking the law, your kids are separated, you go one direction, your kids go another. So how is it that that can happen to legal Americans, but it just can't happen to people who are coming in illegally?
And there was a report that came out, I think a couple weeks ago, when the news media was flurrying on this separation of families. But they also pointed out that under the Obama administration, you had 2.5 million families that were separated just as much. So this is not Donald Trump being evil and trying to separate families. He's really just enforcing the laws. And so this happened under the Bush administration and also the Clinton administration. But you don't hear any type of outward news about those administrations participating in doing the same thing also.
Well, you hear about Trump derangement syndrome.
Yes.
Right? You've heard about that.
Yes.
And it does seem to be that Trump can't win in the media because he can never appease the media, no matter what. And when they were talking about the FBI and they were talking about how he's kind of taken some of the shine off of the FBI. And I was thinking, I said, as a Black American, our relationship to the FBI is a little different because we have a unique narrative with COINTELPRO
Yes.
and spying on Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. So we come at from a different point of view that our intelligentsia has not always been above it all.
Yeah.
So telling us that is not a shock that they are not all the Boy Scouts that some people have. I mean, you look at COINTELPRO and you're like, oh my gosh, they were doing that. They were, so.
All right, to Black politicians.
Black, exactly,
Yes.
exactly. So I hear what you're saying. Now, is there anything you'd like to tell the overall Black community and the overall American community about what it means to be a Republican, not just a Black Republican, but a Republican, and is the water fine over here, or should they stay away, or what do you think?
This is one thing that I did want to point out. One thing that disturbs me in the media is how, just as you said, they said he's deranged and things of that
Yes.
nature. But let's keep in mind, folks, that this is a businessman. He's an international businessman. So the Trump name is international. So he has dealt with world leaders. He has dealt with heads of governments. So for him to be president and to say that he doesn't have any manners and things of that nature, he has a background in dealing with international leaders. So the Trump name, the hotels, the golf courses, they're all over the place. And so it's not like this man all of a sudden has lost his tact for conducting business. This is why he was able to meet with Kim Jong-un. You know, this is why he's able to understand the strategies and patterns of NATO and other policies, right? You know, the policies that we talked about. So please think about and keep in mind that who you're dealing with. Very successful man, very successful businessman. And with that being said, this also, his presidency, I believe, has introduced people to the concept of, you know, he has exposed people in the Republican Party who may not have been as true to their principles as they said.
No, that's right.
And so you have those who are, as we say, establishment Republicans, and they've come out and shown their colors and everything. So I think with him being true to his mission, again, he's kept his campaign promises. Mm-hmm. And so people at the grassroots level have appreciated that. And as a result, you have exposed those who, again, as we say, are part of the establishment and have really come out against bashing Trump. And we even see former presidents now, because of the work that Trump has done, the forward moving as far as, you know, taking care of policies, these former presidents have come out and bashed Trump because they weren't able to accomplish what he's accomplished. He's a renegade, and that's in a very good sense.
Yeah.
Cassandra, what about you?
What I would love to say is we have this wonderful phrase in our community called stay woke. I want to change it to wake up. The ones who are saying how woke they are really are not paying attention. They really have been lulled into a false sense of security that really doesn't exist. And I want them to really, the one thing I challenge them to do, any Democrat watching this show, I challenge you to get the Democrat platform. Get the political platform for the National Democrat Party and read through it, and if you can understand it, see if it resonates with you. Once you read through it, say, yeah, these are my values, this is what I think. When I was at the state Republican convention, I was a delegate, I got to vote on the Republican platform. And when they finished with the platform, I was able to read it, I was able to understand it, and I was able to embrace it. And that for me is significant. So to those who think you're woke, you're sleepwalking. Wake up.
And Cassandra, I will also say this. I saw an article, it was a couple years ago, but the top 10 largest cities in the United States, 7 out of 10 have Democratic mayors, but they also have some of the highest poverty rates in the country too.
Right.
These largest cities that have Democratic mayors. So something also to keep in mind is the fact that this pot of gold that they're showing you is not pure gold. Sometimes it is fool's gold, and that's what we're seeing a lot of times.
They're claiming that the pot of gold is being denied you. It's not being denied you. It's very much available to you. You have to decide that you don't want to be a ward of the state all of your life. That you really, and that's why I embrace the Republican principles. I want to be rich, and I don't know anybody who says they want to stay poor. I'll raise my hand. Yes, I want to be rich, and I want the president who will work the hardest to make me rich and help me achieve those goals to get from beyond whatever the status quo is. I believe that is President Trump, the lowest unemployment rate for black folk in the history of the record keeping. I have no problem with that. The fact that he said if you're able-bodied and working, you're able-bodied and able to work, you're coming off the welfare rolls. I like that. I'm praying that he looks at people and say, you know what, in order to get those food stamps and all that extra assistance, you're going to have to find a job. We may do some matching, but we're not just going to hand it to you so you can sit home waiting on the check. That's just not acceptable for me.
And I remember being in the barbershop one day, and they got into a great discussion because I voted for Trump. And this man said, he goes, I don't know why you voted for Trump. He goes, he ain't going to give you nothing. And I said, why does he have to give me something? I said, I didn't vote for the man because he's supposed to give me something. And so he was kind of dumbfounded that I was challenging him.
Yeah, because they don't.
They
don't get challenged.
But that's the first thing he told me, is the fact that he wasn't going to give me nothing.
The question I would have had for him is, what did Barack Obama give you?
Exactly.
What did Bill Clinton give you? What was Hillary Clinton going to give you?
Exactly. Right.
I want to know what you got. I know my aunt got excited about, what was it, a $200 tax credit or $250 tax credit that Obama did, but she never championed the $600 cash payment that George Bush gave when he said he was doing that sow into the American economy
Yes, I
thing,
remember, yeah.
trying to pull us out of that when the Depression first hit, trying to pull us out, gave everybody who paid their taxes $600 check and said, now go spend it in your neighborhood,
Yes.
go buy that thing. And I'm thinking, okay, you're excited about a $200 tax credit when Bush gave us a $600 cash check. I don't know, it may just be my math, but I think 600 is more than 200. I think 600 in my hand beats 200 on a sheet of paper.
Yes.
I was like, really, really? And then she said, because this president loves his people.
Yes.
I said, I'd really like it if he loved me a little less, or loved me a lot more like the guy who hates me.
Yes.
Because the guy who hated me gave me 600 in my hand.
Yes.
But that's my thing is wake up. Please wake up. And to all of you black people who voted for Trump and you didn't tell anybody, I know you're out there. My challenge to you is come out of the closet, come out of hiding. I believe that, and I heard a statistic today that more blacks are leaving the Democrat Party. And they said we're leaving in droves. Not there, we are leaving in droves. I promise you, if you come out, you will not be by yourself. There will be others who will stand with you.
And also to pinpoint what she's talking about is that we, within the community, we have a herd mentality. And what we like to do is we like to listen to the Tom Joyners, we like to listen to the Steve Harveys, and think that they are
The
authority.
Wendy Williams.
Yeah, right. And think that they are the authority figures to speak for us. When I just ask you to be critical in your listening habits and skills to make a determination for yourself. The assault that they have put on this president, as far as everything that he does, I've never seen anything like it. The levels are unprecedented.
It is unprecedented.
And so what I say to you is take notice of this. This is not something, again, as I pointed out, he's a brilliant man. The things that he's been able to accomplish in the business world, the things that he's been able to do in his presidency, but if you keep falling for the okie doke to where he's dumb or he's unintelligent or he doesn't have any people skills, you aren't being, you're being bamboozled.
Do you think their attack of Trump is making people more endeared to him? It reminds me of, I call it the Dewey effect. Remember when Truman held up the newspaper that said Dewey won?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They got it wrong, and it seems like the media is kind of getting it wrong again everywhere I go. I'm hearing people like you with a different point of view than what the media is saying. The media is saying, people hate Trump. I'm finding people falling in love with Trump the more they say people hate Trump. So it seems like there's a big disconnect. Big
disconnect.
And I think it's taking time for that to happen, but it is happening. And just as you know, people get tired of the negativity. And so that's beginning to show, and people are coming out, whether it be on social media, but you have those like us who are saying, look, you need to look at what's going on. This is not true. And so we have those avenues available, which are being presented to us. I think people are now opening up, engaging, and listening.
I think the other thing is that people are starting to realize that you have to have a better argument than he's dumb. You have to have a better argument than, he's just a fool. He's just a fool. And I'm starting to challenge people with, why do you say that? How many conversations have you had with him?
And
How many books have you read about him? How much have you engaged in anything about this man outside of the 15-second news clip that you get that says, can you believe he did that again? How much have you really engaged? How much have you read? How far beyond your nose have you looked?
And let me say this also, he is redefining the presidency.
Yay!
But also let's keep in mind the fact that during the campaign trail or during the campaign season, he beat out 17 other potential Republican candidates. So it's not like this was handed to him and everything. So
no, he had to work.
Yeah, he had to work, and again, the grassroots have come out and they've supported him.
Just as a wrap up, Russia.
Oh, can I do one more in here? Just one more.
Okay, well, but connected to Russia, do you actually believe that the Russia investigation has any? Did Russia influence you? Did Russia influence you, Tofts, or?
Yes, comrade. I voted for Trump as I was told.
Russia reached into the black community, pulled out
It was
these.
look.
Yeah.
It was that reset button that just didn't work. It was Hillary's
button.
reset
Key.
button just didn't work.
Yeah.
And poor Mr. Obama didn't have the latitude that he thought he would have in his second election. Those are the things that I want to point out. Oh man, I had such a great point, and I've totally lost it now because I got hooked up on Russia.
Well, we'll have to do this again. Tap, did you want to?
Yeah, let me say this. People, you're dealing with two world leaders. And with that being said also, is the fact that we have allies. And so during these negotiations, you're not just dealing with the United States and Russia, you're also dealing with the international community. And so the policies that affect the United States also affect Russia. So you're dealing with two high-level individuals. And so when you're in this type of meetings, it's not like they are talking about unimportant things, unimportant matters, but the media has made it seem like, you know, this is not policy matters that are being discussed. It's more like personal matters. And so I just ask you to keep in mind that that there's a lot at stake here. And when President Trump said that he believes strongly in Putin, this is Putin's word to him. And so he didn't have anything over the U.S. intelligence. This man told him that that Russia was not involved, and he said to the public that I believe this man very strongly. He told him face to face. So I just ask you to keep in mind that how the media is portraying him as some betrayer of the country is not true. The question was asked in a certain manner. He said, I believe in this man very strongly that Russia did not participate. So let's keep in mind who we're dealing with here and the context of which, how the question was presented. And so Trump
Either
is
way,
not.
Russia didn't influence you
Oh,
to vote for
absolutely.
him, and
Right.
Russia
No.
did influence you to
But
vote for
another
him.
thing to think about in terms of that is President Trump doesn't know what everybody in this country is doing at every moment.
That's right.
And I know that the KGB is good. I know they got feelers all over the place. But I would put out there that Putin may not have authorized even the 12 guys that just got indicted.
That's right.
He may not have authorized them to do what they did, just as there are people here doing nefarious activities and doing it under the quote-unquote guise of the United
That's
States
right.
or doing it to help their political candidate or whatever.
That's right.
And Trump may be totally unaware of it, just as Putin. So Putin may be saying, well, as the head of the government, I didn't do anything. Now, there might be some other folk downstream. They may have.
But they didn't influence you.
But they didn't influence me.
Didn't influence
And
you.
I don't
And
know
plus-
anybody that they did influence.
And plus, Hillary got more of the popular vote anyway. So why would Russia, why would Russia, interfere when she got the popular vote?
If they wanted her to win.
right, and she won by what, about 700,000 more
That
votes,
was the point.
right? So
That was the point I was going to make. Thank
Yeah.
you. The 17 that we had to choose from on the Republican side, I was speaking to a Democrat and I said, "You realize you have no choice." I said, right before the election, I said, we have a choice. On the Republican side, we've got 17 very capable individuals, and there's not one that anyone said would not qualify based on their resume to handle the position of President of the United States. I said, on your side, you've got a socialist, an avowed socialist, and a former First Lady who moved to New York to become a senator when she had never been in New York before. I said, but it's amazing that he could win all of the primaries and lose the Electoral College. Said, how did he win the popular vote in all of those states, but not get the Electoral College in those states, so that Hillary got the nomination? I said, you don't have a choice. You've been fed a candidate. Said, on this side of the aisle, we got choice.
And I know that you're trying to close out, but let me just say to people out there, you're going to hear, or you do hear such terms as socialism and was it Antifa?
Fascism, communism, Antifa.
Antifa and everything. These groups or these words are not good, and so it's
Look
not
them up.
right. It's not a popular lexicon, to describe somebody. These are standard ways of living, and socialism does not benefit you. It is a system to where it makes everybody the same, and so I don't know about you. Just as you pointed out, I want to be rich. I want to have my own money, whatever. But that's a phase of what Obamacare did. It made everybody participate,
when you didn't have to participate. It tried to put everybody in the same system to where you had to participate. That's a form of socialism. The government is making you do something in which you do not want to or you did not have to participate in. But that's an example, and that's what I'm saying to you is the fact that these words, just don't accept them. Take the time to research them, and I'm letting you know that it's not good.
Yeah. And if you're a fan of socialism, check out Venezuela.
Exactly right.
If you're a fan of socialism, you should wake up, as Cassandra said. Well, thank you so much, folks, for joining with us on A Different Point of View. This is our first cast, and it's been an honor to share this with Taft and Cassandra, two very, very enthusiastic Republicans that happen to be black. That in itself is a different point of view. We're going to have fun. We're going to hang together. We're going to still find ways where we can work together across the aisle and, be Americans first. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He talked about universal, they call it the universal basic income,
right.
giving everybody $500 a month. And is it New York where they're going to experiment?
California. Fresno.
Well, Fresno mentioned it first, but this is
Fresno.
not where they're talking about doing the experiment.
Oh, really? I know that
They're
Fresno
doing the
was one that brought it
experiment.
up.
I want to say it's in New York. It's either
Probably
New York or
so.
Chicago. It's one of those places.
Probably so.
But they're picking 1,000 families to give $500
Chicago.
to Chicago.
It's Chicago.
Chicago. No
They're
strings.
just
because it's
giving him
broke.
$500?
$500, no
Chicago.
strings attached.
For
And they're
what
calling
reason?
it a universal because everybody needs a basic income.
They talked
So
about
they're
doing
calling
it in
it-
Fresno.
The
But
universal
where does this
basic
money
income.
come from? Does it
The
just fall out the
taxes.
sky? Well, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
I mean-
well, that's the good question for a city that's already bankrupt.
Right.
Yeah.
Is where you gonna find $500 to give to a thousand? And I'm wondering how you gonna find 1,000 families. You're gonna have a war between the Bloods and the Crips.
Yeah.
Whoever has to make the decision, and don't even mention BC or BS13 or whoever they are.
MS-13.
MS-13.
Yeah.
Oh, and guess what? I saw today in D.C., did you hear about Initiative 77?
No.
Initiative 77 is that they have decided gradually to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour.
Ooh.
Okay. Now the restaurant industry and
They
even
can't afford it.
They're about to move out.
even the people, the waiters and waitresses have come out against it, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, it passed last month during the primary, that was one of the initiatives. Guess what? Today I read where 6 of the council members now are trying to.
They're trying to get rid of it.
They're trying to get rid of it. Yeah.
That's
Because
like,
you can't afford.
you can't do
You
that.
can slap on anything. You can say, "Well, pay me you can write a
This
check
is
for $1 million."
democratic policies. I mean, this is just give.
Just don't cash it.
you want to be the
Yeah,
chief
right.
fried cook
Right,
in the
just
You can
give,
government?
write the check, just don't cash
Just
it.
don't cash it.
No, but it's Democrats. Just give. You know what I'm saying?
Well, but it's other people's money.
Right.
It's never their own. It's like the people who are screaming, "We can't put up a wall. We can't put up a wall." Live in gated communities,
Oh gosh, yes.
and that's the one I love. Is all these people,
or no guns, but
no
they have
guns, but they have an
their.
armed security guard.
Yes.
So how you get a guy with a gun, but I can't have a gun?
Getting rid of ICE.
Oh, that's
What?
the one I love.
Getting rid of ICE.
That's the one
what
I
are you
love.
gonna do?
They don't know what ICE does.
How are you gonna defend this? What's the point? What's the purpose of
And
getting
what
rid of ICE?
nation has no border?
I-
I mean, an open border is an oxymoron.
you don't have it. I like that. It's an open border.
There's no such thing.
An open border is no border.
You
at
have
all.
borders around your house.
That's a gated community. You have borders around your
You
community.
have borders around your
borders
house.
around your house. And
Yeah.
yet you say that the nation is wrong for wanting
You
a
have-
border,
you
wanting
have
a
a
wall,
fence.
but you have a wall around your house.
Right. You have a fence to what? To keep intruders out.
To protect your property.
From the people you don't want in there.
Exactly.
And that's the way you put it. But I love it. I love it. I've been through gated communities where there is a guard at the gate. And they announce your
Yeah.
presence. And if
Exactly.
the person that they call says, "No, I don't want them to come in,"
Or I'm not available to
the-
receive them.
the guard very nicely tells you to turn your car around. And
Yeah.
if you decide that you're going to break through the gate,
They will
the
call
guard
police.
calls 911 and the police will escort you out.
Yeah,
into
to
the
a
car.
more gated.
And if your kids are with you, they will separate you from your
That's
kids.
right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So,
You recording this?
Yes.
Good. And,
That-
and you know what? This could be posted like as a little like after talk or something. You know what I'm saying? Like after
Well, I want to
discussion.
do it as a full show, like a little more
okay,
organized
so they got a
instead
little
of just
liveliness to them.
Yeah.
sporadic.
Well, I mean, but this should
We
be
just
heard
kind
by
of
people.
doing the topic.
People should hear this because this is how.
Well,
people
we have to
think.
do another show, so it makes more sense.
No, you
You
know
know
how.
podcast commercials.
You know how you do, hey JD. You know how you have like bloopers at the end or whatever.
Yes.
Like this could be like kind of like
Your
an after.
blooper reel?
Yeah, no, kind of like an after discussion talk or something like that. People hear our ideas.